Hey everybody, I'll put the link to the notes in the chat in case anyone doesn't have those. We'll give folks another 2 or 3 minutes to join and we'll get started.
Hey Alex, meeting 81 didn't happen because of a lack of attendance, right?
Yeah, that's right. Last 2 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago at this time, if
Mm-hmm.
nobody shows up, uh, yeah, I'm not going to give a meeting to myself. So I just
Yeah,
deferred it and we just recycled that agenda for the next meeting.
yeah, that's all right. I was just wondering if maybe it's good to add the notes here. Meeting 81, just say that it didn't happen. Because right
Uh,
now, if you look at it, there's a gap, so people may not understand it in the future, you know?
sure. Yeah, I'll add that. Um,
Thank you.
That's one of mine as well, Alex. I ran a no-show one as well. I'm not sure which one it was.
all right. You can infer those misdates and just yeah, I've just been no-opping it, honestly, but we can change that to be uh to note that down. All right. Yeah, we're 3 or 4 minutes past the hour here. We can go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody to OpenCost Community Meeting number 83. At our EMEA APAC time. Um, we'll get started right in on some community notes here. The first one, which we just discussed briefly, is we will record meetings that are no show where no one from the community shows up, just to have a record of that so that we don't have these month-long gaps. What we've just been doing is sort of updating the meeting agenda and just pushing all the items. In terms of like driving meeting attendance or at least awareness. We've talked about a bot to post reminders to the OpenCost channel. Um, Joao, you had suggested this last time. This is really nice. Actually, this is almost exactly what we need. Um, I just wonder if we need some sort of admin perms. So yeah, we'll see. I'll look into it. Because that seems like it only needs a few minutes for us to at least validate if it's got legs or not. Cool. KubeCon North America RFP is closing in 3 days' time. Um, a couple of us in the community are, you know, uh, coalescing around an idea here proposed by SEMA, who's actually online today around uh, AI inference cost proposals and enhancing open cost. So SEMA, I don't know if you wanted to say a few words. I know I kind of sprung this on you last minute here. Otherwise, I'm happy to.
Sure. First of all, nice to meet you, everyone. Yes, I actually was coming from the direction of inference, open source project called LLMD, which is an inference server, and we were looking for a way to do cost for AI inferencing. And as I was doing some research into what exists in the non-AI world, I came across OpenCost and had ever since have had great cooperation with the OpenCost team. And I've written a proposal currently in the LLMD repository. I'm going to link between the two around how to do costs for self-hosted AI models. There's a lot of interest in this from the inferencing from the LLMD side. And I did a very quick and dirty POC, which I did submit as a PR, which is not meant to be merged, just to show what I did. And it really was an effort on my part to do a proof of concept to learn about OpenCost and what it can do, what it can't do, where it needs to be expanded. And we hope to move to the design phase fairly shortly. And Alex and I have also been working on a submission for a very last minute submission for KubeCon.
Awesome. Thanks, Seema. Yeah, and just like, for some context here, and I might back out to the original PR here, just for context, a few months ago, we had begun, January, right, at Jay had started the process of, people want LLM per token costs, right? And anecdotally, I don't know this, obviously for sure. We don't know what's going on in private companies, but it seems that Kubernetes is, establishing itself at the forefront of orchestrating AI stuff. So we had proposed this outline, and this had been reviewed with the community. Obviously, there were a couple community meetings on it, on dimensions around this, right? And Seema almost like in parallel, right, sort of came up with the same sort of set of metrics, on the same dimension. So it's the idea of, OpenCost has a lot of Prometheus metrics, as we know, but it's the idea of introducing metrics around total cost of inference, jobs, or other types of workloads, cost per million token, input cost per million token, right, output costs. And then, again, I'll sort of let folks read over this, and as Seema mentioned, she'll be posting, an updated proposal here. But the math, the fundamentals of the math are here, and those won't change so much. And we were interested in fusing this with OpenCost's idle detection logic, right? Like a big use case is, people using OpenCost to determine that they're under provisioning their nodes, or their requests are way too high on their workloads, right? And their efficiency is low. And what we're hoping to do is fuse this sort of deeper integration with, a popular LLM sort of orchestration routing framework with OpenCost cost calculations, right? Getting the cost of those underlying GPUs, combining that with utilization metrics from DCGM or other stuff. And out of this comes your, ways to get costs, tease out idle, right? Start to tell the optimization story, right? Like, are your GPUs being fully utilized, right? Like, the engineers will peak provision when the thing's being deployed just because they don't want to get paged about resource constraints, right? Is that what we're really the most effective way? And we won't go too far into this, and really this is Seema's area of expertise, but it's like this information could be fed back into LLMD and used for like making intelligent routing decisions, right? For these like multi-model organizations, right? So anyway, it enables a lot of exciting stuff. Seema, I hope I did it justice in this few moments we have here, but the link's in the agenda. Feel free to check it out. It will change, but probably slightly.
Yeah,
so
there is an updated version of that proposal, so we'll update the link.
great. Yeah, if you could dump that in the chat or something, Seema, I'm happy to update
Sure.
the agenda here. Cool. Any thoughts or questions? Anyone else submitting OpenCost related stuff to KCNA 26? Anything like that?
Hey Alex,
Hi.
hey, Sorry, I mean, if you already answered this question, but if I remember from Ajay's proposal as well, this token cost stuff is mostly for models running on-prem, right? Which is why we're tapping into LLMD, right? Or VLLM metrics, I guess. Is there any plan to kind of do the same with models running on the cloud?
So yes, and I, would argue that we have a certain level of support for that already. So the idea is that, what we're trying to converge on here are standards of metrics, right?
Correct.
Yes, the LLM and LMD are positioning themselves as the market leaders, right? But the metrics we are designing could be implemented by anything running on prem or anywhere, right? Just like any other Prometheus metric. So it's more about trying to establish the standards and interfaces of what does an LLM framework need to export for its costs to be calculated, for its idle to be calculated, for it to be optimized, right? Those are sort of the deeper research questions, right? It'll be implemented in LLMD, but that's sort of what we were thinking. And Seema, I saw you come off mute. Is there anything you wanted to add here?
No, I just put the link in the chat.
Oh, thanks. And so with third-party models, Rajiv, we already have support for those in plugins, right? We have OpenAI, right? Yes, we can argue about the quality of that, but the fact of the matter is the minerals are there, right? And we don't have these, we will never have the level of deep inspection into its performance or behavior as we do with, open source stuff, right? Because no one knows how OpenAI runs their stuff, but you can read the billing information and you can get a rough cost per million tokens. And at that point, things like idle you don't care, right?
That's right. Yeah, for them, it's mostly about the cost, the token cost, less about the efficiency. But yeah, I would argue, I agree with you about the on-prem. It's both, right?
Right. And so, the hope is that by fusing these two things together, right? And yeah, we need plugins for all the other major AI providers, right? The hosted AI providers, but we start to build this foundation here of okay, I can get my costs on-prem if I'm hosting the model. I can see what I've been spending on the third parties, right? And begin to fuse these pieces of information together in some way to help make routing decisions or business decisions or whatever. Any other thoughts here? Cool. Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for the questions here. And thanks again, Seema, for the context. I've put her updated proposal here. This will get linked in to this stuff. It may live in LLMD, at least half of it, right? There will be OpenCost work. Cool. All right, moving on to the various sub-projects. The OpenCost Infra project, right now we're still trying to get OpenAI costs deployed. I think we have access to load-generated OpenAI calls, right? So we won't be revealing any business behavior or something on this. It's just a contrived load generator. So we'll try and get those deployed so that we can see these external costs and start to let either downstream consumers, builders of products or whatever, see what's available, end users, right? So working on that. Yeah, it's mostly blocked on me, unfortunately. So this is more here to remind me. Yeah, our integration testing has caught a few things. We're still unable to re-enable these as a merge criteria. Where we need to cook network costs still and play with IP ranges and stuff like that to fake inter regional traffic versus between region traffic so that we can start to break out the network costs and test that functionality. Yeah, we still have a testing discrepancy between Prometheus lists and Prometheus back tests. They're variable. I know Orc is having a go at this. work. I don't know if you have any thoughts here, if you hadn't had a chance to look at it yet.
No, man, I've been on holiday.
Yeah.
Apologize.
Cool. So, are you still good to hold the baton here for a bit?
Yeah, I certainly am. I'm literally trying to get onto that this week.
Oh, amazing. Um, So, right, we talked about this last time, and I mostly left it on here just as a reminder to me or for anyone looking to poke around. Manos did review these integration tests. We have some flakiness in the tests. Um, and, I obviously used some AI help here, and I'm not terribly thrilled with the proposal here, which is basically like a lot of these tests are failing because OpenCost has different pods that are coming back from a Prometheus query, right? In general, the OpenCost integration tests are query Prometheus as a ground truth, perform the calculation in parallel with what's happening in OpenCost, and then compare the results. Um, but this thing is like basically saying anything that doesn't come back in Prometheus, throw out. Uh, and I feel like this defeats the spirit of the test. So I need to go back and think about this, and I think we need to be asking deeper questions of why this happens, right? And have this more explainable. So, I mean, help wanted there, sure. I'm also working on it as I can. And yet, reviews welcome our ideas if anyone has ideas. Moving on to BinGen. Uh, we are working on maturing this project. So we had open sourced this a few weeks ago, right? This is OpenCost's data storage format. It is highly optimized for what we do here. We're working on getting CI up and checking codes and stuff like that. Something we're experimenting with here again is, since we own the data format, we are trying to optimize this for what it's used for, right? Which is Kubernetes objects, external cost objects that incur cost. We're playing around with, and we recently switched to a table-based or a template-based, generator. But it's the idea of implementing a cache, right? So we go to disk to save memory, but front it with some sort of a cache, right? Because a lot of strings in these files are reused, right? Like, namespace names, the cardinality is low. So we can keep those in memory, and that avoids us having to go to file and reallocate something and instead just return a string pointer, right? So it's almost a very, I don't know, ad hoc string interning implementation. So Matt at KubeCost is looking into this with me. I'm again mostly just put it here for everyone's context. We're working on it. Moving on to the OpenCost AI project. So again, this is a self-hosted, air gappable LLM to either drive savings optimizations or, chat interface. Orc has done a ton of work in here, and he's gotten all the CI set up and taken a big step forward towards our maturity. We just need to test these at scale on GPUs, right? Can we get, we don't need this AI to be omniscient, right? We just need domain specific knowledge about costs and optimizations and things like that. Can we get away with running a, 500 million parameter model or something locally on a laptop, or do we need a GPU? We just need to start to spec the system out and test and things like that. So again, just calling that out. No real movement there since the last meeting. All right, OpenCost UI. We have one PR to review here as a group from this individual who OpenCost running under a base path. So I guess, proxying or something like that, my base path. So the problem is it serves base path assets. All right, so it looks like they are bringing in support for this logo, base name, so the assumption is that there's a slash here. Like trim. Because that just jumps out at me that like if someone gives a slash or doesn't, if they don't give a slash, this will explode, as will this. But overall, the approach seems solid. Man, I wish this thing would just show me my review. Thank you. All right. And same thing here. They're adding new arguments here from the build, setting environment variables based on Docker build arguments. I think that's okay. We can maybe provide defaults here rather than down there. I guess they are providing a default down here, but I think it should just be done up there for consistency. What did Copilot want here? UI path. Yeah, I think that's okay. Right, base name, UI path, legacy base name, legacy. I think this is okay. I'm just going to submit these legacy base. I think I'm going to ask, have you tested in both legacy and non-legacy mode? And just for context here, right? We recently had a huge upgrade to the OpenCost UI. So shout out to Vishy. He just finished up his mentorship yesterday. Let's check it out. Where is this? This would be demo.infra. So this is, the new OpenCost UI. Yes, our undersized Prometheus is not up to the task because this is massively parallel calls now. It has stuff. It supports drill down like we had and all that. But you can basically build dashboards out of widgets now. We have a dashboarding engine, right, where you can, edit things and move them around, copy and share them. And we obviously have support for the classic 3 or 4 existing OpenCost pages, and we all recognize this, but you can build your own stuff. What's new and what Vishy did right at the tail end of his time with us is we now support autocomplete on the back end too. So, for example, if you were going to add a filter, right, and you want to filter on a specific cluster, we populate your cluster. And I guess that's not particularly interesting because there's only one. But for something like a namespace, sorry, I've lost my screen here. For something like a namespace, right, we now auto-populate, all the options, right? And you can start to search, right? So we support fuzzy finding of stuff. So, definitely check that out. This isn't released yet. It's on the demo, but, so the idea is that make the UI a little easier to use, tell people what they have and don't have. It loops through Prometheus results, so it's not going to set any speed records or anything, but you can juice the pod deployment to get more CPU if needed. So that's our new UI feature, not released yet. Just call to action. We brought this issue up. We need to refresh our UI docs here. We don't have any mention of MCP. We don't have any, and all of our GIF short videos and things have to do with the old UI. So I'm hoping that Vishy will find some time to do a blog post as our first foray into documenting this. But if anyone is looking, for a minimal code contribution to make here, help wanted.
You just sign that to me. I've got some interns around at the moment, Alex, that might be helpful with that.
Yeah, thanks, Orc. That would be amazing. And a great way to get their feet wet onto like what you even see on costing UIs and stuff like that. Thank you. Cool. Moving on to the website here, we have one PR to review this morning or afternoon or night, wherever you are. We've had a contribution that has already been merged upstream. I guess there were problems with some users where we default to, the API's location as the BigQuery location, but if your BigQuery table is in a different region, that was causing problems. So the project has been enhanced to support this and configure the client. Additionally, configure the BigQuery location, US Central 1, determined right default location. I think this is good. Is there anything anyone else would rather see in this? What did I ask for? Okay, yeah. So it'll just default to the existing location, which he linked docs here. All right, I don't see anyone pounding the table saying don't merge it.
Merge away. So
Great. Okay, we'll send that in the queue. All right. I'll put that down, merge. This is a holdover from last time. Since a lot of us are working for IBM, now we should add IBM logo to the contributors on opencost.io. Yeah, I'm sure there's some process on the IBM side that we need to look into to get that done. I pulled that action item. Italicize that. Cool. All right, let's move on to the big one, OpenCost Core or OpenCost. So we're experimenting with image signing right now. I think that there are still some bugs in the image signing workflow. Let's see, where do we do this? Sign. This is a debugger potentially? Yeah. All right, so this is actually actively being worked on by Christian, but the idea is that uh, we're issuing, we're co-signing and then we'll publish, the attestation to the public repository of those and sign all the manifests. So it's all part of the overall supply chain security story. I think Christian's still working on this. So shout out to him. Cool. Let's get into the PRs. So our first PR is driven by an issue here. Right, this was submitted by Arundam. And thanks for coming, Arundam. And please let me know if I'm mispronouncing your name. I don't know if you want to say a few words here.
Yeah.
before we have a look.
So recently we have recently means in April. So I am from OCI team and I'm the maintainer of Carpenter provider OCI. So that's a new provider for OCI and Carpenter integration. So there for the flex shapes, the flex shapes Carpenter is heavily dependent on the cost. It tries to optimize the cost and create a node with the minimum cost. So that's why during provisioning, we need to give Carpenter what is the CPU memory memory requirement. For our flex shapes, it's a kind of generic name, but there is no CPU and memory information because as the name suggests, right, it's flex. So any number of CPU and memory can be there. So that's why we pass the Carpenter in the instance type this kind of format that the shape name, then the CPU memory and the bus table shape, all the things which is dependent for the Carpenter to decide which is the cheapest node. So that thing, the new format was not there in the OpenCost OCI provider. I added the support for that, and this is the test. This is the test results and all. Yeah, the
Awesome.
test results are updated.
We had a quick pass over this. I didn't leave you any comments. I think this looks good to me, right? So you're basically splitting the shape and then you're, extracting all your relevant costing elements out of that name, right? Yeah, you check you do your trimming and your amounts here. And the multiplier, is this like multiplying like an OCPU versus a CPU basically? Or something?
This is the bustable thing. Bustable things means so customer can opt that I'm okay with 1/8 of the CPU, but I can loan if it is needed. So there is a
Gotcha.
concept called OCI, like bustable.
Great. Okay, pulling in a new label. Okay, inferring your instance type from your from your label here, right? And then OCI instance. Okay, yep, tests. Yep, this looks good. You fall back. And then you check that. Okay, that's great. Right, now you're using your function here, and you check the shape. If it is the shape, then you get the base, and then, right, okay, then you adjust the price here basically, and then modify the pricing based off of that. All right, great tests. Thank you. Yep, great test cases for the new instance formats, Carpenter stuff. Looks good. Multiplier, I see. Flex versus a flex CPU, right, is an eighth. Okay. I mean, this looks great. Does anyone have any reservations? Great. Thank you so much. Is this your first contribution?
Thank you. Look forward to work together. Yeah.
Great, yeah. And look, we're always like looking for, the cloud provider reps to, grow into maintainership, right? If that's something you're ever interested in. Because probably no one is more qualified than you to know how your platform works. So just, standing invitation.
Thank you. Alex, one question.
Yes.
This is my first meeting joining in the
Right.
OpenCost community. So, what is the release cycle? Like some of our customers are very much waiting for this. They use Carpenter on the OCI and OpenCost. So their OpenCost is basically broken for this. So when is the release cycle when this is expected to get released?
Yeah.
And how do I know that? Like which can contents that?
So, great question. We strive for monthly releases. However, we release patches more frequently than that. So it comes down to whether our release manager, Christian, is able to find bandwidth to do this. I think this feels like a patch, right?
Yeah.
We can ship this in a patch release so that folks can get their hands on it. So I think that's a great note. Now is definitely the time. Let's make a patch release of OC with these fixes. We had tried to do an LTS branch and stuff like that, but we just don't have the resources to maintain that. So we just release off of head of develop, but I'll ask Christian to do that. No, it doesn't. He's not going to be able to mention, but we'll see if we can find time to release that. So maybe in the next few days.
Sure. Absolutely. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, amazing. That is, we did merge that, right? Yeah, that's in the queue. Great. Merged. All right, next one is 3805. I know there are a lot of provider fixes here, so we may go out of order here. But most of this does look like, yeah, we'll come back to this one. I know there was a DigitalOcean one that we wanted to have a look at too here. Right, okay. Fixed pagination in sizes API for DigitalOcean. This was submitted by some folks from DO, Sriram and Arvind. Oh, and they're both here. Would either of you folks like to say anything about this before we review it?
Yeah, sure. Hey, Alex. Hey, everyone. My name is Sriram. I work at DO as part of the Kubernetes team. So we noticed this issue last week when customer reported an issue when they were deploying OpenCost on one of their DigitalOcean Kubernetes clusters. So what had happened was that we had implemented the OpenCost provider a couple of months back, and then since then the billing API had changed. So we were using a static API URL earlier, but now we have to use the API key to like fetch the billing information for all of the slugs in a paginated fashion. So that pagination logic was not implemented in a provider, and this PR basically adds like it replaces. So earlier we were like hitting the billing API using the regular HTTP client, but I refactored it so that we use the DigitalOcean Go client instead, and we handle pagination, and yeah, I added some tests as well after Alex said mentioned.
Great. So DO has released a Go DO Golang client. That's exciting. Yeah, I mean, your tests are quite comprehensive. And you do mock them. Great. Limit link, right? Okay. That's fine. Make the call. I think that's fine. And then you have your DOKS objects abstractions here. Yeah, I think tests looks solid. Let's look at the actual. We looked at that. Looked at the tests. Yeah, your actual provider code. So this is the new type of client, the new native client. Very nice. If it's nil, all right, you do error log and you throw an error up the chain. All right, so this is basically equivalent to a fatal log, right? You explode the boot if there are problems.
Yep.
Which I think is great because the behavior will be very non-deterministic. You think 30 seconds is a sufficient timeout here for your context? Like is your pricing API huge? Like is it, multiple gigabytes?
Not really. We
Okay.
have like 192 something slugs right now. So
Okay.
that's like
That
19 pages, so that should not take longer.
great. Awesome. So then you list all of your instance sizes, build that into a list, break the pagination if you're on the last page, and then loop. Right. Okay. Then you break out of your infinite loop. So now we have a list of all the sizes, and then you build the internal representation of the object based off of the responses here, and then handle. Oh, okay. Add GPU support. That's cool. GPU info. Okay. And then it looks like you're just manipulating objects we're already working with. So at that point, it should just work well. Thank you for the unit tests. This looks great to me. Does anyone have any concerns? Did anything jump out at anyone? Great. Let's put it in the queue.
Awesome. Thank you so much, folks. Yeah, we had the similar question as Arindam. So yeah, it would be great if we can get this released in a patch version sometime in the upcoming weeks.
We will be happy to accommodate that.
Awesome.
And I'll say the same thing to you as on like if you want to, grow into a position where you take greater direct ownership of your provider code. We are obviously very interested in growing that ecosystem, standing off.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. This is an Oracle fix now, where perhaps there's some API change and we're having parsing issues. All right, it's a relatively small PR, which is now they refactored it out into a parsing function. So, okay, yeah, and thereby enabling unit testing, valid, unparsable. Okay, great, looks good. And then has a better error message. And if it's not attributed to cost, all right. I think this is a great refactor. Parse the flow, better error message handling. And this will fix the underlying issue. False, returns nil. Okay, I see. Aborts the entire ingest. Okay, all right. So they don't want to blow up everything, where instead they now just parse the flow here. And okay, and then I guess gets us around if that is, there's an error parsing something here that gets us out of it. I think this is fine. I think the tests are solid. It's certainly unable to flow. Expand helper. No, I think this is good. If anyone has any reservations, let me know. Arnav, I don't know if you saw anything that jumped out at you, but
No, I think it's fine.
great. Great. Yeah, our OCI support is really maturing, and our demo runs on OCI as do all of our tests. So yeah, we appreciate our Oracle partners for supporting us with that credit. All right, it's in the merge queue. This is merged. This is merged. How are we doing on time? 2. All right. Maybe we'll take a look at a few more here. Right, new cloud provider, Stack It. I think we looked at this last time, right? It's a European hyperscaler. And there's been a lot of back and forth here. Sean had a review with it. I just had a few questions about it. I think, we'll just take a quick scan through it here. It's quite long, and it's already been subjected to a bunch of review. We'll just review the deltas here. Please no force push. Please no force push. All right. Well, then we'll just look at the whole thing. Right. So good default pricing. We're just going to trust this individual has the context here. Right. All adding it into our provider list inside of assets. Right. Okay. Adding equivalency to the configs, parsing the key configuration here. This all looks good. Provider, Stack It. Yeah. And obviously a lot of this has been gone over by Copilot, and a lot of it's been resolved. Let's look at the tests. Tests look good. Yeah. All right, so they are querying for a specific node instance, loading, mock querying. I think this is solid. They are, I believe, playing nicely in the interface. So even if there are bugs in the actual implementation, the blast radius should be limited here. I'm inclined to accept this. If anyone has any concerns here, and that way we can expand our supported cloud providers. I believe that this individual has also put up a documentation PR, which is right. And we had concerns around this. They addressed all those. Right. Open question. Cool. That is in the queue. Great. So yeah, we'll move on. We'll table 3805 to next time, or one of the maintainers will hit it out of band. Let's see here. So moving on to the Helm chart. Is Sean our Helm chart maintainer? We've been having a lot of back and forth. We tried to enable the GitHub release immutability tag as part of the whole supply chain security effort. But it breaks our automation, right? And this individual reported that our chart versions were missing from recent releases, and then broken mutable releases. This was fixed. And we did miss a few versions of Helm chart releases, but it's fixed on the most recent one. So thanks to Sean for chasing this down. I don't know if anyone has ever successfully played with immutable releases, but I believe what's happening, and maybe we can see why this choked here. It's probably some old thing here, a string of April 13th. Yeah, that at OCI. This is probably release, publish. I see. So we're having trouble creating the release because it creates the release and GitHub does, it's immutable, and we try to mutate it by actually uploading the actual Helm chart, right? Because our Helm charts are served from these releases. The index.yaml points to these. So it looks like the solution here is, can we provide the artifacts at the time of release creation? Because I think immutable releases is a valuable and useful thing to have. Maybe we'll weigh in on this on the issue. Release assets at creation time. Otherwise, we cannot adopt this. I'm going to reopen this. Sorry, Sean. All right. Cool. So let's just post it about mutable release workaround. And then just the other note, longtime attendees will recognize this one by now. One of the next steps in our supply chain security story is to now sign our Helm charts, right? Sign the images, reference said signed images in the signed Helm chart, sign the Helm chart, publish our public key, or if it's a keyless provenance thing, get that in the appropriate registry. Just as we sort of plug the gaps here and mature our project in general as we move towards graduation. So that's a to-do, help wanted, action item. We really haven't looked much into how this is done or what
Put that to me.
Oh,
It's
wow.
another intern one, I think.
Thanks. Oops. I think Manos was going to look into this too, but I don't, I know it's busy. Cool. Nice work. Yeah, so stay tuned for that. I'm sure everyone would like to deploy verified Helm charts and all that because we give this thing access to our clusters, right? Moving on to plugins. A lot of new plugins have been proposed here. We can go over and look at the ones that are in here. Yeah, we have a lot of new plugin ideas. Folks are submitting multiple. These are hard. These are hard to accept because we will not accept this without someone from the community who has a Coralogics account, testing it and confirming it shows what we want. We're jammed up from stuff submitted in January, right? So that, this is just a general help wanted thing from the community. If you use any of these products and want to see their cost and OpenCost, do these plugins work? If not, help us accept these. Yeah, so just a call to action there. I'm going to link to this actually. Yeah, so that's it for the sub projects. The last time we'll talk about our Spring Linux Foundation membership is this week. It has concluded. Fishy did an amazing job. He totally revamped the UI as we saw earlier. We will not be having any mentees for the summer term. We have a bandwidth issue on the maintainer side. Perhaps term 3. So we are open to suggestions from the community on what big things you'd want to see out of OpenCost. We're going to continue to invest in RBAC. Vishy had started sort of on his own initiative to build out an RBAC mechanism where it connects via OIDC to your SSO or whatever, and then has begun to sketch out like a roles, teams issue. So we'll continue to invest in that and maybe get a mentee's help. But if folks want to see big things built, like reach out to us. And these folks that have come in and have worked on these things, like we've given them pretty big projects, and without exception, we've had a great experience. So we'd love to keep that going. Some of our former mentees, in fact, even have gotten into the open source con for Linux Foundation and are going to be presenting there. So we're very excited for them. Yeah. Oh, shout out to Sparsh. Hey, Sparsh. Yeah, Sparsh is one of those. Yeah, so that brings us to our end here. Maybe we'll gain a few minutes back at the top of the hour here. Does anyone have anything else they wanted to discuss before we sign off for another 2 weeks here? Questions, comments? Amazing. Well, thanks everybody. Feels like we're building a little momentum here with a bunch of different facets here, and definitely expect a bigger role for OpenCost in the AI era, but continue to excel at our bread and butter here. So thank you again. We'll get a release out very soon, I promise. And yeah, we'll post in the channel. Our release manager will post in that channel when that happens. Thanks again. See y'all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks everyone. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.